I'm Nicolette, and I'm the founder of Womanship. And as part of the A to Z series of things that women don't talk about, we're exploring D for Death, a subject that often holds deep meaning, connection, and even comfort when we open ourselves up to it. Today, we're joined by Genevieve O'Kelly, a spiritual medium who has helped people around the world find peace, clarity, and connection with her work through the spiritual realm. And at our upcoming event, Genevieve will help guide us to connect with our own intuition. This is going to be a really exciting session from her. And I'd like to introduce Genevieve.
Thank you, Nicolette. Lovely to be here.
So, you transitioned from a corporate career to working as a spiritual medium. What made you realize that this was a path that you wanted to take?
I was aware of my spiritual gifts since childhood, but I grew up in a very conservative Catholic family, and I learned early on to keep my gifts to myself. They were not encouraged, but I always had the ability to see deeper layers of reality. When I was a child, I remember talking to a friend on the school bus and saying, "You know how when you focus on someone and then you can read their thoughts?" And she said, "No." And I thought, oh, not everybody can do that. But as I grew up, I had more and more, I guess you'd call it spiritual experiences or metaphysical experiences. And it became increasingly evident that this was not the norm. But I was very determined to prove myself to be just like everybody else and to fit into the mainstream world. So I embarked on a career in the business world, which was safe and approved of by my social circles, my family. And as time went on, I certainly learned a lot in the business world, and I did an MBA, and I learned a whole lot of skills that help every single person today, especially when the world has become digital. But I became increasingly unhappy in the corporate world. I ended up having a burnout and a baby in close succession. And some events conspired to cause me to leave my job. And then I really didn't know what I was going to do, but I knew that I had these gifts and talents that I had really never explored. I had done readings for friends as a hobby, as a bit of fun, and people always really enjoyed them and got a lot of value out of them. So it was actually some friends who really pushed me to take it to a more professional level. And so, literally, just through word of mouth, I gained a small clientele. And as I did more and more readings, I became more and more confident, and I really felt that I was living my calling, that I was called to do this work, and not even for money or enjoyment, but really to help the world, because these are times of tremendous change and upheaval for so many people around the world. And the message was we really need light workers to help people. So I more and more stepped into it, and today I work with people from all over the world. Most of my international clients are speaking English. So clients from America, Australia, and from Europe, and I've had clients from most of the continents at this stage.
So I'm curious because part of womanship is about providing women with a taste of all the options are out there to help them. And some people may go more towards spirituality, some people may go towards psychology, for example. What would you say for those people who don't believe necessarily in spirituality and believe in what you do? And how can you relate that more to us as individuals and our own intuition?
That's a great question. So it's not for everybody, obviously, and in no way would I ever want to push something on anybody who was not interested or open to that. But I firmly believe that psychic ability is something that all humans have. It is natural, it's an instinct like all of our other instincts. It's an instinct, it's an ability, and it's one that we used to use extensively. So when we were living closer to nature and we were in more of a survival mode, as humans, we used our ability to telepathically connect with each other because we were working maybe at a long distance from each other. We used our psychic abilities to have information brought to us which would affect our everyday lives. For example, people might have dreams about changes in the weather, or dreams about some kind of event happening, or the American Indians would dream and connect with their spirit guides who would give them information. We have, as humanity, as humans, and as all races of humans, we have been using our telepathic and psychic gifts extensively for a long time. And in the modern world that we live in, especially because of religious dogma, we have very much been talked out of using our natural psychic abilities. So the psychic and telepathic abilities that we have can be thought of separately to spirituality because they have been studied extensively in scientific circles and really proven beyond doubt. The religious element of many of our societies, cultures that we live in, has sort of demonized these things and lumped it into the bucket of spirituality outside of the approved church or belief system of whichever culture we're talking about. But everybody has a life force which goes away when the heart stops beating. And not everyone has an explanation for that. People who have spirituality do have an explanation of some kind, and that really helps them. So whether somebody sees themselves as spiritual or not, no one can really argue that we all have an element to our being that is beyond just the physical world. And what I find with the work that I do is that very often death, coupled with grief, is the catalyst for people to start to become aware of themselves as more than just their mind and their body, more than just the physical world.
So, what are the common messages, or what type of messages do you receive from the spirit world when you do readings?
Well, the one thing that always comes through is that the spirit world is not separate from us. That if people are open to their loved ones still being around them, their loved ones absolutely are around them, and their loved ones want more than anything to connect with them. So I hope that the work that we do in the session actually gives people the permission to allow for that possibility. You know, it's up to every individual to dictate the pace at which they wish to make a connection with spirit or with their selves as a spiritual being, but at least to open up people's capacity to imagine that as a possibility is already a big step. And then, of course, it happens in the timing of the individual.
Can you tell us why you think women should attend this event, D for Death, Navigating Loss in all its forms?
I just think it's so powerful to talk about death and loss because it is a deeply personal experience, and yet it is one that almost every person goes through in their lifetime. I personally hear almost weekly of somebody passing away who I know. So there's something about this time of year, actually, I would even say that a lot of people choose to transition. There's something about coming out of the winter and before we go into the spring and the new life. This does tend to be a time when people cross over. And even if that's not happening to you in your life, as you're saying, loss is very broad. We can have loss of relationship that's devastating. We can have loss of self definition, which is devastating, loss of career, loss of self-importance in many aspects of our lives. And normalizing the emotions, whatever they are that you're going through, will help anybody through that process, which is such a subjective, personal process for any individual. So I really hope that a lot of people come along to this event and open up and share and feel supported.
Thank you so much, Genevieve. I really do hope you'll come and join us either online or on the 4th of March or in person on the 27th of February at Equals for this really exciting event. We've got some amazing speakers for you, as you've seen with Genevieve, and we'll really explore it in lots of different ways. So thank you very much. And
Thank you, Nicolette.